Hi everyone, it's Rob from Adeptus Psychonautica, and today I'm going to cover the hows and the whys of how I work with the medicine called Kambo. Let's do this! Okay, so what is Kambo? As always, I'm not going to get too far into this. You can always go and look it up on Wikipedia if you want. But basically, it's this venomous secretion of an Amazonian tree frog. A shaman will go out into the jungle, capture one of these frogs, and without harming it, scrape some of the venom from its glands, and dry it out on a stick like this. And this is what becomes known as a Kambo stick. And what you can see here is this kind of lumpy raised bit. This is where the venom has dried out into a kind of a resin. So I first started working with Kambo on my first trip to Peru, and it's very commonly used at the start of a retreat in order to cleanse you, to get you ready for doing things like ayahuasca. I did 2 Kambo ceremonies out in the jungle with a shaman called Johnny. Great guy, he's a Kambo and Nunu specialist. And then after we'd done those ceremonies with Johnny, he gave the option of purchasing some Kambo to bring back home with this. So that's what I did, and here's my Kambo that I've been using. A small stick like this, you would get around about 30 individual doses of Kambo from. Now, I definitely recommend that if you want to work with Kambo, you should do it with a shaman. So have someone there who can show you at least the first few times. Once you've done it a few times, you get a bit of a feel for how it works and how to do it. If any of you guys want to work with Kambo, I'm going to put a link in the description below so you can get in touch with this shaman, with Johnny, and he'll be able to point you in the right direction. Okay, so now to the why. Why would I put myself through this? Well, there's 2 reasons. The first reason, the one that's most important to me, is that Kambo is very effective at dealing with chronic pain. And I've got a lot of chronic pain. I've fractured my back 3 times, my right shoulder is pretty much destroyed, I'm having problems with my knee from doing a lot of long distance running. So I have just a lot of day-to-day pain that is just constantly there in the background. And what I find with Kambo is it gives you a kind of a holiday period from this pain. It's a very effective painkiller which can last around about 2 to 4 weeks, and that's without taking any sort of prescription medications. So if you want to get away from taking prescription painkillers, or say that you're going on vacation, or you just need a break from this pain, you just need to turn it off for a while, I've found Kambo to be very effective for that. Now, the second reason that people use it is that it's seen as a cleansing medicine. People do this prior to a retreat to get them physically and also spiritually in the right sort of frame of mind. Now, the spiritual element I'm not too engaged with. I've never really had that feeling from Kambo, in that it's kind of like spiritually cleanse me, or you know, balance my chakras, or balance my auras, whatever. I don't really buy into that stuff. But although I'm not a huge believer in the spiritual element, I do have a belief in the kind of the ritual element. I think this is a good practice to do before a retreat, just to get yourself in that right mindset. You're kind of going to put yourself through an ordeal to prepare yourself for what comes next. It's a way of sort of signaling to yourself, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to commit to this retreat. So I'm currently about 2 weeks out now from my next trip to Peru. I'm going to do a 7-day retreat in the Sacred Valley with ayahuasca and with San Pedro. So this is me doing my cleansing to get ready for that retreat. And as I say, if it gets rid of my chronic pain as well, then that's a bonus. So what does this actually feel like? Okay, so first of all, you get the initial burns, where you can do them anywhere on your body, anywhere there's kind of muscle tissue or fat tissue. So people can typically do it on their arms, here. You can do it on the legs, around your ankles. It does pretty much anywhere you can do it. You burn it with a stick. This will make a blister. You scrape away the top layer of skin from the blister, and then you rub in the venom. And it's typically administered in dots. So you choose or are instructed how many dots to do based on what it is you're trying to cope with. So for some diseases, then shaman might say you need to do like 6 dots, which would be a lot in my opinion. For me, to get rid of for the pain that I try and deal with, usually 2 dots is more than enough. In fact, 2 dots is quite a potent dose for me. Once the medicine's been applied to the dots, you've basically then got around about a minute to make yourself comfortable. You'll notice that you'll start to feel hot. I start to feel itchy. Tongue starts to feel itchy inside the roof of my mouth. It feels very much like an allergic reaction, and I know this because I'm very allergic to things like nuts. So I recognise that kind of allergy feeling. It's certainly not as strong as a full-blown sort of anaphylactic shock where your throat closes up, but your face can feel a little bit puffy and your lips feel a bit puffy, and there's this kind of tingling sensation going on. The temperature may rise, start feeling like a pulsing in your head, and sooner or later you'll begin to feel nausea and you may or may not purge. When I do it, I like to do it out here on the balcony because it's cooler. I like to be closer to nature when I do it, and also it's very common to, when someone's going through this process, for someone else to pour water over the top of the head. It calms it down a bit, it makes it easier to manage, and so it's just easier to manage this kind of water splashing around out here. So I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to leave the camera rolling, and I'll show you what happens as I do a Kambo ceremony. So what I'm doing here is rehydrating the resin back into the paste, which I'll then use to apply onto the burns that I put on my arm. You do this by mixing up the saliva from 2 different people. Tradition says that you need 2 different people's saliva to do this. So here I've got my own saliva, and I've also had my wife's spit on this plate. So using a knife, I apply the saliva to the stick and stir it up a bit, rehydrating the resin, and you end up with this thick pasty solution, which I'll show you here. Now I've actually made quite a lot of it here. That one blob is at least enough for 2 doses, so I'm going to make 2 dots out of this small amount. So here we go, we're starting the ceremony, and what I'm doing here is heating one of these small sticks with a lighter to make a glowing burning point, which my wife is then going to push into my arm to make what we call these dots, which is basically just a blister of skin. We scrape away the top layer, that's what I'm doing here, just scraping off the top layer of skin to leave the sort of underexposed layer, and then it's into these dots that will place the Kambo. So I'm just showing it to the camera there, you can see the 2 little pale dots. That's where I've done it. They're not too deep, it's not too painful at all. Once you get past the initial sort of ouch of the burn, it's not like a deep burn. Okay, so now my wife's picked up the knife, and the paste that I showed earlier has been separated into 2 dots, and she's going to apply it using the tip of the knife and just spread it into those dots. She wants to kind of push it in there. Not too harshly, obviously she doesn't want to cut with a knife, just using the flat part of the knife to push the Kambo into the burn. It can be a little tricky sometimes, it'll just fall off, so you have to kind of make sure it spreads in there and there's lots of skin contact to hold it in place. But there we are, we're good now. So what I'm going to do now is speed up the camera because not a whole lot happens. You can see I'm starting to feel it here. You can see I'm breathing deeply. My face has gone a little bit red. Yeah, you can see I've taken a few deep breaths now, and at this point I'm feeling some real discomfort. This itchy feeling that I was talking about is in my mouth. My head, my temples are just pulsing with this kind of doop. Really feeling my pulse in my head. Feeling very hot, feeling very itchy. It's just a very uncomfortable feeling. And it gets to the point where I just feel absolutely I need to lie down. It's just too much effort to stay upright. Probably at this point I'm thinking, what the fuck did I do this for? Okay, now I'm starting to feel nauseous. You can see I'm heaving a little bit here. Still nothing's come out. Strangely, I do a lot of heaving on Kambo, but I don't think I've ever thrown up before. Apart from this, on this occasion, this is the first time I've actually thrown up on Kambo. Now, one thing I need to mention here is that before you do this, you're supposed to drink a lot of water. You need to drink at least like a litre and a half of water. I believe it's so that you've got something that you can throw up, so that you can purge out of you. So what just happened there was that, it was getting very intense. So I asked my wife to actually wipe off some of the paste, which she just came and did. And you can see I just put some more water on myself, but I'm still very much feeling it at the moment. So my wife's just putting some water on my head there. And usually when you wash the paste off, you kind of come out of it fairly quickly. But on this occasion, it was still really hitting me. So I'll keep lying there for a while. And I think the nausea starts to really overcome me in a moment. And I think I'm going to grab the purge bucket. There we go. And there it is. Whoop, there it is.
So yeah, that's the first time I've ever actually purged anything on Kambo. But I'm coming out of it now. I think my head's getting a bit clearer, and I think I'll sit up in a moment. So obviously this, like it says, this is played at a faster speed. So I think there's about like 15 minutes have passed here in the real time. A couple more heaves, nothing else comes out, and I'm pretty much done. And then I just go for a nap. And it was a really good nap as well.
Okay, so it's about 6 hours now since the experience that you've just watched. I just thought I'd give a quick update on how I'm feeling. And yeah, to be honest, I feel absolutely great. After going through the experience, I went and had a bit of a lie down, had a kind of slightly trippy, pleasant, blissful dream. And now I've just been out for a walk, and my shoulder and my knee, which are really normally bother me on a day-to-day basis. I normally have a lot of pain and stiffness and inflammation in my shoulder. It grinds as I move it around. Similar kind of story with my left knee, and they pretty much feel almost normal now. They're not bothering me. I've not got this nagging pain in the back of my mind, so it's really does help with chronic pain. So one thing I thought was interesting was that while I was going through this experience, I had on my Fitbit heart rate monitor. And so I was able to have a look at the statistics afterwards of what was going on with my heart rate. Now I actually thought that my heart rate would have shot through the roof. My head was just pulsing and boom, 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 boom. I felt like I was like Tetsuo from Akira, about to get like psychic powers with my head just pulsing so much. But yeah, when you look at the actual numbers, that's not the case. There's definitely a slight spike, but not that much more than any other kind of strenuous activity. So I guess the takeaway there is that it's not quite as much of a strain on your body as I initially thought it was. And for anyone who's interested in what the scars look like now 6 hours later, then hopefully you guys can see that. I've just got 2 little dots, still scab over in the next day or two. And you might be able to see I've actually got these 2 I got tattooed in as a memento of the very first time I did Kambo in Peru. And then there's a couple of more little bits of scar tissue here. So I've pretty much got 6 in a row now. And what you can do with these is reuse them. So these middle 2 I've actually reused multiple times, so I don't have like an ever-growing strip of scars going down my arm. But I actually quite like the look of them. I think now I've got this 6 in a row here. I think I'll get the other 4 tattooed in to match the rest of it. Now, as you saw when I went through this experience, I had my wife here helping me. I really do recommend that if you're going to use Kambo, it's much better to have somebody there with you to help put it on, to help take it off if you need to, and also just to support you through the experience. I really wouldn't recommend doing this solo. So that's it for this video on Kambo. I hope you found something useful in there, and if you like the content here on Adeptus Psychonautica, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys next time.